Welcome back everybody. Bit of a silly video this really, bit of a rant. I don't know what brought this into my head really, but it just got me, something got it in the back of the mind there, and I just thought I'd make a silly little video about it really. This is unbelievable. How can this have happened? How can Sega go from making the Saturn controller, arguably the greatest controller ever made, to making the Dreamcast controller, one of the worst controllers ever made? How can that have happened? It just defies belief. The more I think about it, the more I can't believe it. You know, this is just perfection. You know, they'd mastered the controller here. It feels beautiful in the hand. It's got 6 face buttons, perfect for fighting games, and you've got the 2 shoulder buttons. But most importantly of all, on top of all that, the greatest D-pad ever designed. Perfection. It couldn't be improved. So then, how the hell did they get to this? Don't get me wrong, I don't mind it to hold. I think it's quite a nice controller and it's comfortable. But there's 2 face buttons missing for a start off. The shoulder buttons have turned into triggers, which, fine. I don't mind that. It worked well at the time for, you know, analog driving games and the like. And I think the VMU aspect of it, brilliant, ahead of its time. Massively underused. It could have been a big thing. Unfortunately it wasn't. But it was great thinking. So it does have merits. I'm not denying that. It is, you know, it's not without merit. But the wire coming out the bottom of the controller, hate that. I mean, even they knew it wasn't a good option, and I appreciate it's because of the VMU most probably. It would have made it awkward to come out the top. So it wasn't ideal for it to come out the bottom, and Sega obviously knew that because they put this little groove in the back of the controller to route the cable back up like it was coming out to the top of the controller. But then if you stick the VMU in it, that compromises the wire being pushed in that groove. It can still be done, but it's awkward. But actually, at the time, only one analog stick, which you can possibly forgive, although the PS1 DualShock was out, so you know there was other things out there with 2 analog sticks, so I think you could argue that this also should have had 2 analog sticks. I don't think the analog stick that you do get is the best feeling thing, but for the time I think it was probably okay. I do feel the surface that you're gripping could have been better, but all that's irrelevant. It's the D-pad. The D-pad on this is absolute garbage. Unbelievably bad. You know, they've come from this, for God's sake. How did they arrive at that? That, you know, they got that. Why redesign it? And why, having thought, well, it's a good idea to redesign it, why the hell did they think that was the best option? It's utter shite. Honestly. Garbage. I just do not know what they were thinking. It just defies belief. But then the kind of, the icing on the cake's the wrong phrase, but the salt in the wound, I suppose, is the fact that on the Saturn they'd already designed this, which is obviously the analog controller, which you can kind of see you know, the similarities between the Dreamcast controller and the Saturn analog controller. This is just as comfortable to hold, I would say. It's got the analog triggers, but it's got 6 face buttons. You know, that's the right solution. And most importantly, it's got the same amazing D-pad that the Saturn controller had. This is a great controller. And I also think the analog thumbstick on this one is a nicer feel than this one. So why on earth did they not just use this and put the VMU in this? Far better. I know there were other concepts, you know, when they were designing the Dreamcast, you know, there's drawings online that you can look at. Why did they decide this was the best? This is so much better. Even, you know, without the, you know, history said the VMU didn't really serve much purpose in the grand scheme of things. So it wasn't needed, but hindsight's a wonderful thing. Who was going to know that at the time? Just, this would have been so much better if it was like this, with a VMU slot in the top for me. The more I've thought about it, the more crazy it seems. And I just do not know what Sega were thinking. This was magnificent. And so much so that you know, you can buy modern versions of these for, you know, like a PS4. It was that good, you know, that fate has decided that the design was so good, it's still going to work 30 years later. Same beautiful D-pad, 6 face buttons, shoulder buttons. Admittedly, you got 4 on this, but that's irrelevant. The basic design of this was sensational. It had evolved into this, which again is really, really good. Just with a slight enhancement, it could have made the Dreamcast controller awesome. Ultimately, we ended up with this turd. Gone through a few of these over the years, and I look after stuff. I'm not heavy on controllers, but these are flimsy. And like I say, that D-pad is awful. Cheers, Sega.